In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a different UI than you're probably used to seeing on a website. It's inspired by the main menu of Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the newest one. And I do need to mention that this is not a tutorial for beginners. It's actually for people who already understand HTML, CSS, and probably a little bit of JavaScript too, even though we're not going to use it. A lot of the code I'm going to talk you through it, but it will be under the assumption that you understand the basics of these core technologies. So the inspiration comes from this video game here, and I try to lean towards entertainment related products for my inspiration because they tend to make things that are a little bit different in terms of how they look. They kind of like try harder to stand out, whereas most websites, probably about 80% of them, have the same UI. You know, you look at them, there's a nav bar, header section, a grid, another grid, then a footer with links laid out in a grid. So I'm trying to do something a little bit different here so that you can learn how to use HTML, CSS, and even JavaScript in different ways than you're probably used to at work. So let's get into what it's going to look like here at the end. It's actually pretty cool. I ended up using a Super Smash Brothers theme, and the only reason I did that is because, one, to show you that you could, take one theme and adapt it to something completely different. And the other reason I did that is because it is extremely difficult to find Call of Duty assets that look really nicely. But for Super Smash Brothers, they are all over the internet. So the menu looks like this. It has the same exact effect as you saw in the Call of Duty main menu, and it's just meant to, just be something a little bit different. I definitely could have laid this out in a grid. It's not finished, it's not mobile responsive yet, but we're going to work on that in another video. But this is a way to do something a little bit different, and that's what we're trying to go for in this video. So let's get started. Oh, before we start coding, there are two really important things that we need to note. Let's look at the Call of Duty menu. You'll see the first thing is that the titles of each submenu that leads to the next screen are actually misaligned as they're strewn about the screen. But when we hover over it, the title jumps to the center. That's important. And then the other thing that's really important is that the background of each submenu, the menu slot here, is actually gradually zooming in or out as we are hovering over it. So that's really important because it adds to the dynamism of the website. The reason why it stands out so much is because 80% of websites they just consist of static images, text, grids, and icons. And so whenever you add dynamism in a world where there's just so much of the same thing, it goes a very long way. So let's keep that in mind as we build out this user interface. Alright, so let's get started on this project already. So you can use whatever editor that you want. I'm going to use Vim for this one. Let's create a project folder, and we're going to call it modern underscore warfare underscore UI. And I'm going to go ahead and navigate into that folder like that. And so the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and create the index.html, main.css, and main.js files like that. All right, now that I've done that, open up your index.html, and I'm not going to use Emmet for this tutorial at all, except for this one part, because I just like to go ahead and create the main HTML structure like this, which you don't need to display things locally in your browser, but it just helps to get used to that. So I'm going to go ahead and link my style sheet here like this, and main.css. Oh, that was right. And let's go ahead and link the JavaScript. So see, which is by the same name, main.js. Then close it. All right, now for our title, we are going to just call this. I'm doing this based off of Super Smash Brothers, as you know, because the assets are the easiest to find for that. So I'm going to say Super Smash Brothers Ultimate dash main menu. Now it might seem like this isn't significant because we're not deploying this website, but it's actually a big deal because what it allows us to do is when we open this file in Google Chrome, which we're about to do right now. When you open it in Google Chrome, what happens is, let's say that we don't remember where we put this file. Well, like in the future, if we want to find it, we can actually type this in, and Google uses that, the browser uses that to like find that file. So it makes it like really easy to keep track of, even though it's on your local machine. Okay, so let's open up index.html again, and we're gonna start by creating a container for the menu. It's gonna have it be a div with the ID equal to just menu, not a super descriptive name, but because there's not a whole lot going on, it doesn't have to be super descriptive. So the menu is going to contain all of the content for all this stuff. So the first thing we want to do, get as much content on the screen as we can without distracting ourselves. So it's very important that we don't distract ourselves. So we're going to hold off on the images for right now. All right. So let's see, div, it's going to be class of menu underscore slot, like that. And that's going to represent like each one of these like menu slots that you see on this screen here from Call of Duty is representing each one of those. Each one of those main objects is a menu slot. All right. So we need 5 of those, and each one is going to have an H3, and it's going to be the title of whatever screen you're going to next. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this right here and paste that in. Five times, or 4 times rather. Okay, so we're gonna go here, fight stages. This was videos, and this was music, and then this was, what the hell was this? Oh, it was about, yeah. Okay, now if we go and look at our screen, oh my god, this website is already looking amazing, but let's not, hold on, let's not collect our money just yet. Let's add some CSS. Okay, I'm already excited about it because of how great it looks, but let's add some CSS now. Okay, so whenever you're doing something that's a full screen project, first thing you want to do is set the body's margin to 0. And the reason you want to do this is because the default margin of the body is some fixed amount, and it will prevent you from using up the entire space on the screen. So you can see here that the text doesn't quite hug the side of the screen because it's got the default margin there, but once we save this and refresh, you can see it now is hugging the edge of the screen because now we have the whole width of the screen by getting rid of that default margin. Okay, now next thing we're going to do is we're going to set that div with the ID of menu to be I'm actually going to open up index.html on the side here so you can see it. I meant to do that in the reverse. Fuck. You know, I really like for the file that I'm using to be the one on the left, so I'm going to go ahead and actually take your time to switch those out. Okay, there's probably a vim command for that. Okay, so let's see, menu slot. Yeah, so menu is going to be a height of 100 VH and then a width of 100%. So when we do this and we inspect, you can see here that it's taking up the full width of the screen. This is nice. This is actually beautiful. We don't want this scroll bar here. We'll take care of that in a second. Now, overflow Y like that. We're going to say that's hidden. That's going to get rid of that pesky scroll bar. Okay, so now everything's hidden. But you'll notice that the menu right here, no, everything's good. Yeah, everything's good. Everything's good. Okay. So sometimes you don't want to do this right here where you say overflow hidden like this. And what it does is it makes it so that, like, you can see here that even though we set the height to be 100% of the viewport height, there's that space up there, and that space actually comes from not the div, but actually this h3, which is nested therein. So if you were to actually say margin top 0 like that, you would get your real estate back, and then you'd be able to like use the entire bit of the screen. So that was what I wanted to show you there. But we can just do overflow hidden, and then it will just make it so that that's not even on the screen, right? Because the scroll bar is gone. Okay, so yeah, our menu is now full height, full width. Okay, awesome. Now we have these like menu slots. So let's say menu slots. Oh, I forgot one thing, but I'll go ahead and like finish out this part. Right now these elements are like stacked on top of each other because divs are block level by default. You already knew that because that's why you're watching this video. Let's use our favorite container management like new CSS function. This is called Flexbox, and the thing about using like the thing about creating UIs is that whenever you have large containers that you need to move around and like control to the like fullest extent, you want to be using either Flexbox or Grid. I've done Grid a bunch, so I've been trying to get more into Flexbox, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been actually simpler than Grid, so I hope that you like it as much as I do. So display flex, what that does is it says even though that these are block level elements, go ahead and display them in one row side by side. Oh my god, that is amazing. God, that is amazing. So we have div containers with h3s in them that are sitting right next to each other. Good lord. Okay, I need to move on because I'm gonna get too excited about that part. All right, now every menu slot should have a height of 100%. Okay. All right, awesome. That looked, you saw how awesome that change looked. And the width of these menu slots is gonna be about, let me like check this thing out. It's not quite a third. It's not quite a third. I'm gonna say menu slot. So the menu slot, interestingly, is actually going to be a flex container itself, and this one's actually, I'm going to hold off on showing you that. So the flex basis is going to be say 28%, like that. Okay, that is so cute. Okay, awesome. All right, the next thing we're going to do is position relative, and I'll tell you why we're doing that later. Yeah, let's go here. Okay, so when you hover over a menu item, or sorry, a menu slot rather, when you hover over it, we are going to say make the background color, set it to white smoke. Nothing crazy, just something noticeable. Yeah, just like that. Look at that, a menu. Oh my god, like I'm about to actually like end this video here and go apply it to Sony. Oh wait, no, sorry. Let's see. Next thing we're gonna do is we are going to make it so that if you actually look at this menu, you'll see that when you go to the edge there, it doesn't quite take up the full width of the screen. There's like that background happening, right? That's on the either side. Yeah, so you see it on the left, you saw it on the right. So let's achieve that, because right now our shit goes from left to right. We don't want that. We want it to be like kind of squeezed in the middle there. I just remember the commercial from the 90s. I'm not gonna get into that though. You guys remember that peanut butter and jelly no, I'm not getting into it, never mind. Okay, so we set the width to be 93%. You can see that now it doesn't go there, but we want half of this part to be over here, and the way that we do that is with margin 0 on the top and bottom and automatic on the left and right. And now we have our container going like right in the middle of this thing. This is beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. I cannot get that peanut butter and jelly commercial out of my head now. That Smucker's commercial. Okay. I'm probably gonna have to edit that part out. But I could not get that out of my head. Okay, so now that we have this going on, I actually took the time to go ahead and like write some copy for this for the HTML. So I'm actually taking that off screen here. I'm gonna paste that part in, because you can see that the description on the menu items, they have a description there. So we're gonna actually paste those in here like this. So this one goes like that, and it's gonna look a little wonky here because I have this like supersized font so you can see, but that's okay, because when you write whatever text you write in here, you're gonna write whatever text you want. It won't wrap across the screen because your font should be a decent size, a reasonable size. So I'm gonna paste that in. And let's see, that's the fourth one. Paste that in, and last one. I wish I remember what it said. Okay. All right, so now we have like all of our copy text. The beautiful thing about this is that when you are working on the job, like people will provide you with this copy, so you don't have to like come up with that at all ever. So that's great. Okay, so we have our stuff here. It's looking pretty terrible how that's like set up side by side. So I'm gonna actually go up here to the top, and we want this to be the menu slot. While it is display flex, what we want is for the flex direction to be column. We want those things to like stack on top of each other. That's what we want. Yeah. Oh my goodness, that's what we want. Okay, now when we are in like just the main state, nothing's being hovered over, we don't want to see these, so let's go ahead and take care of that. We don't want the paragraphs in there. Actually, hold on, we'll get that next. The main thing we need to get is, if you look at this menu here, you can see that when you hover over the next item, it kind of like expands from the middle and then like pushes the other ones out. It like literally pushes them a little bit. So that's what we're gonna do next here. We're gonna make those things push each other. Let's fight over the screen a little bit. Menu slot hover, that is gonna be let's see, I wanted to say justify content, but like hold on. Justify content, wait, hold on, flex basis is gonna expand a little bit, 37%, and then yeah, gonna expand a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Now you pushing it. Yeah, push me to the edge. All my friends are flex. All right, as in flex box. Okay, so we have that set up. Let's do justify content. It's gonna go center like this. Whoa, I missed it. Nice, look at that. All right, so then let's see, the next thing is, let's go ahead and like add a transition, because right now that like looks ugly, and actually this should, like, this isn't quite like pushing it enough for me. So let's say not 37% of this container, but 37% of the viewport, like the screen itself, because sometimes you want to like break out of the container, yeah, that's pushing it. Okay, now we're gonna say transition. It's gonna be flex basis, so we're gonna do a transition on that. It's gonna take 100 milliseconds to ease in and out of that. Yeah, there we go. Now it's like pushing it around. That's what I like to see. There we go. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so now that it is like pushing it around like this, so I actually want to, what's the next thing that we want to do? We want to make it so that these items are going to be in the right location. So as I mentioned before, when you are not hovering over something, the different titles are like, misaligned, and then it's only when you actually are hovering over a particular item that all of them will for sure be in the center. So let's go ahead and like make that effect next. So what this will require is for us to set a specific margin on each of the different items. So that's where things get interesting. So let's close the CSS for a second so that we can get like the full screen here. And we're actually gonna wrap the text itself into another div, and it's gonna be the class slot-item, and then we're gonna increment all the way up to 5. So we're starting here like this, and then another div like that, and man, I'm definitely not gonna have the time to format all of that, but we can always come back to that later. Slot item 2, and I'm doing this so that one, I can just, you know, get used to writing this stuff out, and then 2, it makes it so that it's like easier for people to keep up as the tutorial goes along. So slot item 3. Whoops, I saved that without actually closing it. So if I had like gone back and refreshed it, I probably would have been stuck for like half an hour trying to figure out where I went wrong. Slide item 4. Okay, and honestly, if I were doing this like for work, I would be definitely using Emmet to like speed up this process. I would have like planned this whole thing out start to finish, and then like done the entire markup in Emmet in like 1 minute. But anyway, we're here, we have a slot item, this is good. So now when we do our slot item, we can now control, because we have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we can control them individually but also together. Let me show you exactly what I mean. So I'm going to open up main.css now, because you should remember exactly what the markup looks like after writing all that. All right, slot item 1. Slot item 1 is going to have a margin top of about like 40 to 45 VH with viewport height like that. Yeah, so it should be like somewhere like right in the center like that. And let's see, we're gonna do item 2 is gonna be margin top of about 25 VH like that. And then so every other slot item is going to be like basically in the center, but it's like kind of off a little bit. So this one's going to be margin top, and it's going to be just like slightly less than 45. So 42 sounds like a good one. Report height. And then slot item 4, and let's go back and add our dot. Slot item 4 is going to be, this one was like a little bit lower, so I'm going to add like even more there. And these viewport heights, these will actually keep it like really consistent when the screen is resized. We're not going to do mobile responsive design today, but this is should make this like easier to work with in the future when we resize screens, at least on a laptop. Okay, so we saved all of that, and it looks like we may have missed 1 or 2 here, but it looks like the first 3 got it. Oh, I missed a semicolon, or sorry, a colon here. Okay, and then now for this one, I'm not sure what I missed here. Let's see if we can find it in our HTML, index.html. Let's see, slot item 5, div class slot item 5. That is within div class slot item 5, so I'm not sure why that's not going down where it should be going. Make sure I spelled it right. Yeah, definitely spelled it right. 42 VH, 45 VH. Okay, easiest way to figure out what's going on is to inspect this, and let's say margin top 42VH. So it's definitely working there. So it's something that I wrote in my code that is not quite sound. Slime 5. Alright, so let me figure that out. Okay, so in my haste earlier, I forgot a goddamn quotation mark. Alright, so now everything is aligned according to how it's aligned in the Call of Duty menu. So it kind of goes like, you know, every other item is in the center, and then second one is slightly higher, fourth one is slightly lower. So we're in a good spot now. Okay, let's open up this CSS. Damn, that was annoying. All right. So now that we have all of this stuff like happening, you can see that when we hover over them, they don't all jump to the center. Actually, I don't think any of them, yeah, none of them jump to the center. We want that to happen, okay? We need that to happen. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna say, this is where it gets fun, okay? So after your slot items, come down here and we're gonna say menu slot, like this, hover, and then menu slot hover, and then without a comma. That's really important that you do this without a comma. You're gonna say div class, and then this caret equals, and then slot dash item dash nothing. Then you're gonna open up some brackets. Now what the hell is going on here? So what's actually happening here is that on line 48, when we say that caret equals right there, when we say that, what we're doing is we're saying take the class, take the div with the class that matches this string up to this point, right? So now we can say slot dash item dash, then all of these that match that string, which is, you know, all of them from like lines 24 to down to 46 above, all of those will actually match it. So we can use them to like differentiate each other, and then also group them together in this way without having to like add a whole separate class. So then we say justify content center right here, then margin top will be 0, and then I want to say wait, why is that? Oh, let's say content, let's say flex basis is gonna be 37 viewport width. I feel like I already set that part, but it's all good. See, padding top is gonna be 18VH. Then yeah, why do I feel like I already did that part? Yeah, I did do that part. Okay, so that part, go. Okay, so it's menu slot hover, and then div class slot item, define content, that. Okay, so that is looking a little weird there. We definitely want to figure out what that's all about. Just by content center, then padding top, 18ph, like that. Refresh the page, and we got nothing. We got absolutely nothing. So let's do this. I'm gonna say all right, so that lines them up. But if that's the case, then we can actually take these things and and just move them down there. So I'm gonna, well, we got that one. Let's take these and move them down here like this. There we go. All right, so now when it's just like in the video game, right? So you hover over an item and then the text jumps to the center. Yeah, text jumps to the center, and then when you're not hovering over it, kind of like returns to its original position. All right, so that looks, actually it's starting to like look pretty good, pretty accurate. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is, this is the part where we can start to add the character. So let's move to that section next. Okay, so the characters are gonna go in these little slots here, and they're already like hovering and being in the right spot. But we want to, before we get to those characters, let's very quickly make this slightly more video game like. You'll see what I mean here in a second. So say menu slide, whoops, menu slide H3. That's gonna be text transform, yeah, uppercase like this. Okay, and then menu slot P, damn it, menu slot P, and it's going to be opacity. I'm going to set that to 0 by default. Yeah, and when you hover over it, that's when we are going to display it. So with JavaScript, we could like just, you know, do a mouse over event and then we can like throw it in there, but I actually don't mind doing it like this for now, because it's just like preventing us from having to go there and like think about JavaScript for now. We'll get to JavaScript later. So let's go ahead and add that right beneath this part. So menu slot hover, and then I think it goes div p like this. This is a fairly complex selector, which I don't like. But yeah, there we go. All right, so one thing that's gonna help a shit ton is if we go to the top and we set the font family. I usually do this like first, but I forgot. Yeah, I forgot this time. Okay, so it's kind of looking like a video game menu here. Text pops up as you like hover over it. Nice. Okay, now let's get to the characters. So I chose 5 characters from Super Smash Brothers. You can find these characters in their like artwork by going to supersmashbros.com. So you can just click on English or whatever language you speak, and then, well, I assume English if you're watching this video, and then you are going to click on fighters where they have all this data. You can choose whatever 5 fighters you want. I recommend that everybody, at the very least, especially if you don't like play the game, you should choose the characters that are like most recognized, and the most recognized character from the whole series, obviously, and the whole like Nintendo like company, is obviously Roy. So let's go ahead and pick him. Now I'm gonna at this point pause the video and like take all of my assets, which are the characters, these like images here, and I am going to go ahead and like move them over to this project folder that we just created in this video. So you can get these assets from GitHub from downloading this link that's in the description. Okay, so I've copied my assets and I'm ready to go back to the website. Now if you for whatever reason wanted to like choose different like costumes in this, you can go to sources and then you would click, oh my god, you can go here and click assets and then image and then fighter, and then you can get whichever like image you want to, but you definitely want to choose a PNG for this because we have to have that background be transparent so we can do stuff with it. Okay, so it's got to be a PNG or whatever type of image with a transparent background. All right, so let's make it so that when you hover over this, our character will appear. So that's the next step. Okay, so let's open up our code here, and we are actually, for this part, going to go to the HTML. We're going to do some like fairly hacky stuff. It's not going to be like that. Whoa, what the hell is that? It's not going to be like the most. Damn it. Oh, I see. Yeah, so there's gonna be like some areas where it's like there's a better way to do that, but that's always how it is when we're writing like plain HTML and CSS. There's always a better way to do it than that. This is like for learning purposes, but also like made to for sure like look professional. Okay, so for every single menu slot, okay, so that means in this case I'm going to be between lines 10 and 11, and when I get down here I'll be between lines 16 and 17, which will then be 17 and 18 in a second. But yeah, so div class, create a new one. In the menu slide, it's going to be char, short for character, and then the name of that character that you chose. Okay, so we're going to take that and like add that in. Now you're going to take that line and then, whoa, and you're gonna say, how do you spell Bowser? Yeah, like that. Then we're gonna go down. Oh, I took the word. Div class equals character, and then Zelda is what I chose for this one. And I basically chose like the best character, and then the rest of these are just like characters that give that character absolute hell online. So that's where like this came from, except for Fox. I actually also use him. All right, it's a character Fox, right? And if you're in VS Code, like that was a breeze for you. You just like copied and pasted or like typed it in 5 different areas at once. So that was a breeze for you. So all of my assets are here. Like I said, you can download them from the description, the link in the description. So go back to your main CSS. And now we are going to add our character class. So our character class is going to be what we use to like size up this image. Okay. So let's see here. Slide 05, or should it be? Let's put it here. Character. And it's going to be a height of 100%, not the viewport height, because that's like a static, a fixed amount. We're talking about 100% of this container, and then 100% of the parent. Yeah, the container. No, I said it right. And then position is going to be absolute. Then z index is going to be, say, 0 for now. And now we need it so that when you hover over the first one, when you hover over this first slot here, it's going to show the character. Okay, so let me pull that up on the side here. We need to set up some commonalities. You have to scroll so much when your font is this size. So menu, hover, then div, the div dot character like this. It's going to be background, no, sorry, background dash size. It's going to be cover, then background repeat. I actually usually call this none, and it's not none. It's actually no repeat, like that. So I got it right this time. And then it's going to see transform scale, which is going to be to like scale it up or down, whichever number you provide in here. And it's going to be 1.5, like that. Okay. So now we need to set it up so that the class Roy from our HTML will be populated with a background image, but only when we hover, right? So only when we hover. So we'll say menu slot again, hover, div dot Roy, and I guess you could just say dot Roy. I think, yeah. I don't think that'll ever like be an issue, yeah. So then we'll say background image, and then you would set this part to URL, and then in here is going to be a string which goes to the file, like that. Go ahead and add your semicolon. Little known fact, you actually don't need a semicolon for the very last rule of a CSS rule set, but I still like to add it because I'm superstitious. Yeah, and so there Roy is. And you can see he's kind of like bleeding over here into stages, and we don't want that. So we have to set it so that, where is it? Menu slot, overflow, I think it goes here. Overflow is hidden like this. Yeah, there we go. There we go. All right, so now we'll open up, and yeah, the character will be contained within this particular slot. So that's good. We need to like move him over a little bit. So, and this is where every single image will have to be different. So it'll be background position. It's like 30%. So these are the X and Y coordinates over here. All right, good. So he shows up. Now let's see if we can take this, and we're gonna do Bowser, and this will let us know if we're on the right track. I think I have an extra space here, but fuck it. Stages, boom, boom. There we go. Okay, so yeah, these are, oh, you can probably hear me cracking my knuckles. My bad for that. So the next thing that we're going to do is make sure that this text is in the correct position, because right now obviously we don't want it like overlapping the text. So let's set this up to be let's see, main IP. Oh yeah, I had like a common class here, but it just seems so not worth it. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna, let's try this out. We're gonna say and make sure that it's over the image. There we go. So now it's over the image, so that's cool. All right, now let's set up all our characters. Yeah, let's set up all the characters. So we have to go up here, and yeah, very tedious CSS going on here, but it's also just nice to not have to rely on JavaScript or jQuery for once, right? Like, who needs that stuff? So I'm gonna say Zelda, fucking, what did I do? Zelda, like that. So you can go ahead and fast forward through this part if you want to. Oh wow, not, yeah. That was from the clipboard when I copied the images over. So means I hover, and then what was it, Ness, absolute nightmare online, just PK fire over and over and over again, like sacrifice. I really don't understand that. I really don't understand that. Background position is going to be let's just set them all the same for now. Although Ness's, so Ness's his PNG is like a different form, not a different form, a different size than the rest of them, because his like model, his character model is very small. So we're gonna have to do something slightly different for him to get him to show up how we want him to, at least for now. So that being said, whatever characters you pick, you may have to choose like different values than I do. All right, all of our characters, whoa, all our characters are here. Yep, everyone is here. Okay, everyone who matters anyway, except for him. This one doesn't matter. I don't know why I picked that. Okay, So we have our characters here. One thing you may have noticed is that our transition is not quite here. So in our transition, I'm gonna say, sorry, transform. And that's gonna be like 10 seconds. Let's also ease that one in. So you can see it's like this gradual zoom that's happening now in the background, and it's happening completely independently of the text. Okay, so that's nice. The reason for that, in case you're wondering, in case you're like, you don't know, you dropped in this tutorial and it's like a little too much, what's happening is our text is relatively positioned, so it's going to fall in where it usually does, but then positioning it relative allows us to use position absolute, because we have the nearest positioned element now, and we can position it absolutely based on this text here, or it might be the parent, actually. Sorry, that's the parent. So it's actually being positioned based on the menu slot originally. When I was saying I was going to explain that later, that was why. So this is position relative, so lets the background image be absolutely positioned, and it goes behind the text. So yeah, so this is like all working out here like a little too well. And now that we have this part set up, let's go ahead and like do the different sizes for the different positions for the images. So you can just see that that's just a matter of the background position, and then once we do that, we are going to start like styling it up. So actually, I think, yeah, that's a good position for him. Bowser, I'm gonna say, his X is gonna be 74. Let's try that. I'm just gonna kind of like fly on this. Okay, yeah, he's already like much better off. Then like somewhere around here, this, I might just like look at these values and stuff. Oh, that's perfect. Okay, I think that's exactly it. That's why I use even numbers. They're easier to remember. And then I'm just gonna look at the values for Zelda, 30%, and then 50 pixels. Then for Ness, this one was actually around. Just get his whole body in there, that bastard. Nope, I didn't even do that. Whatever. Then Fox is gonna be 1% like that. Let's see if like Fox looks better. Okay. Alright. I honestly don't care if his face is cut off, it doesn't matter. The other characters matter. Alright, anyway, so all our characters are here. They are showing up as we need them to. The menu is, the menu slots are pushing the other menu slots a little bit, and the whole thing is like contained like within the boundaries of the container, just like they are on this one. So that's everything we need for now. Let's go ahead and move into making this thing look a lot prettier. Okay, so for this part, we're gonna set the background color of the body to be this like dark grayish color, so that we can really see the difference between where the background is and where our menu slots are. And then from there, we're gonna start to like style these slots even more. So let's see here. The first thing, body at the top, is gonna be background color is gonna be something like pretty obvious like that. Okay, so now we can like really see exactly where all these boundaries are. All right, and now we're gonna take these slots and we're gonna like make them look a little bit better. Okay, so this is the fun part. So for this part, let's see here, we should be prepared to add like a whole lot more tedious code. And yeah, if we were doing SAS, like this would be a lot easier. If we were doing JavaScript, this would be even easier than that. but we're not doing either of those things. We suffering. That's how we do things here. So let's talk about this selector here on line 28. So what this is saying is the menu slot, and then you're gonna say the nth child allows you to count down for like however many instances or occurrences of this particular selector happen, right? So for 1, it's going to be the first one that exists, on the screen, the first instance of this. So we're going to say the background, we're going to actually set this to be a linear gradient. I'm not sure what that snippet was because it wasn't right. And the degrees that I chose was 140 for me, and I chose this I chose these colors based on the colors of the character's outfit. So if you look at Roy, I took like the purple from his cape, and then the white from his glove, and then the gray from like this like back side of his pants here. So this is the only purple that I could find. I never got to change this. I need to convert that to something else later. And then white, and then gray here, like this. So now you can see like Roy's background like really comes to life when you do that, and it like matches his character. So let's do the same thing for Bowser, or really all the characters, right? So Bowser's the second one in this. So let's see, background, it's gonna be linear dash gradient, 140 degrees. And his was, I remember this color by heart. It's like this flat red that I really like, and then beige and green to kind of like match his like body colors, right? So now you can see that's where we get that from. And you get like, this is starting to look like damn near a 3-dimensional like website almost, right? So let's keep it moving. Zelda, wait, hold on. Yeah, I want to be writing that out. Zelda. So for her, linear gradient and 140 degrees. And I said hot pink, light blue to go with her dress, and then orange. The orange is like actually meant to more match her hair, but the yellow wasn't quite cutting it. Not that you can see it down there, but yeah, so that's hers. So yeah, these are like just really characteristic of who's being hovered over. All right, next one. God, next one. Here we go. This fucking kid. All right, for what was he? He was background, gradient, 140 degrees, and it was gold, light yellow, and light sky blue, like that. These are all valid CSS colors because they're working clearly. And there's his. This almost makes you like him. All right, take this. And so Fox is going to be, wow, I just like arrow keyed that. Fox is going to be forest green, light blue, and then I think the one I went with here was fire brick. I've been like waiting so long to use the color fire brick, and this presented the opportunity. Yeah, so now let's say 5 here. So let's see what his looks like. There we go. All right, so every character has their own little color slot, and yeah, that's looking good. Okay, so now next thing, obviously we have got to fix up the titles when they're hovered over the character. We can do that like pretty damn quick. Okay, So where did I put that shit? Okay, so this part is going to be text transform uppercase, and then what's really interesting is that when the title is sitting out here, it's actually, at least in the video, in the like menu, when the title is not being hovered over, you can see it is in the middle of that text. Okay, it's in the middle of that box. Sorry, it's centered. So let's go for that. Okay, so text align center like this, and then the color, I went ahead and pre-selected the color beforehand because that's always like a pain to be trying to do that like while you're working on stuff. And then we have this this background color where it's like kind of faded, so it'd be 45, then 51, and then 61, and then alpha channel, that's that opacity, is going to be that, and then whoops, whoa, where's my, there we go, that's what we want. So yeah, that actually like already starts to look like pretty damn cool, right? Okay, now there needs to be some padding on it so that it can get that like that space around the text, and that'll make that slot for us. So padding is going to be 3.6%, at least on my computer, and then 5%. By the way, my dimensions are a little bit different on this computer. So like if we were to operate on a normal size laptop, 1440 by 900, it does change just a little bit, but not like super drastically. So you may have to adjust just a little bit, especially if you're on like a laptop with a tiny screen, like a Mac. Those have like little baby screens. All right, let's see, font size. It's gonna be 2EM like that, and font weight, when it's not being hovered over, it's actually pretty thin. And then yeah, let's do that. Okay, yeah, cool. All right, now let's do this. All right, so menu, slot, hover, and then div, and then the H3 like that. I just want to be sure. You definitely, in a real world scenario, you would definitely want to come up with a like way of selecting this better than this what I have on line 129. But for, you know, time and just for the sake of learning it, we are just gonna not give that a selector, a name selector. So when you hover over this, font size is going to increase 2.45 EM, right? And then the font weight, I've been inclined to use bold a lot more because of React Native. And then the min width, this is important, is going to be 80%, and I'm going to show you that in a second. Max width is going to be 80%, and text alignment is going to shift to the left, and then the color is going to be, and you can just copy this from me, 79D9FF, like that. So the reason why we did that min width thing is because if you look at the screen as usual, our reference, you can see that it, like, the title doesn't quite stretch across, right? I think we said that earlier. It doesn't quite stretch across. So that's what we went for here. Like, it's just almost reaching across with that tab, and then the text lights up and gets a little bit bolder than the rest of the other stuff. All right. Now the titles are a little bit wide. I don't know, you might like this. I don't know how I feel about it, but I came up with a contingency plan where I said min width is, it is just like about 10, then max width. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not crazy about like either, to be honest. Actually, I think I like the first way better. So I'm gonna delete that. I think I like this better. Yeah, I like that better. Okay. If you want them skinnier, then you can set the min and max widths on those. But I like this way better. Okay, now for the text itself, sorry, the description text itself, we can just go in here and say line height is going to be 1.5 EM, and then the color, and this doesn't matter that we're setting it here because we're actually setting it like its opacity is 0 at first, so it doesn't even matter there. All right, so now that we've done that, I think the next thing that we can do is go ahead and set up our next thing we can do is set up our background, like our actual background. So for the actual background, we are like Call of Duty screen has like some, like, I don't know what that is going on, but it's like slightly animated, so something. We are gonna set up for ourselves a background video. So I've included a video for, if you go the Smash Brothers route, I included a video in the GitHub repository, so you can just like kind of follow along with that one if you want to go with this thing. But you can also like take this and apply it to something else. So outside of the menu, I'm going to use the HTML5 video tag. Going to be autoplay, muted, loop, and the ID is going to be set to just background video. I've been writing div too long. Source is going to be, and then background, I always like to be explicit, OGV. The reason we use this instead of MP4 is because I don't think Firefox can play MP4 video. So if we want this to work on both browsers, then we have to do this. All right, now we have our video here. Awesome, it's taking up the whole screen. Now this video, normally the video tag wouldn't take up the whole screen, but it's just that this happens to be a video that is just that freaking big. So we still have work to do. Whoops. All right, BG-video right here. All right, so for BG-video, we just want it to be full screen, but we want it to be in the background, away from everything. So it's gonna be position fixed, and then overflow. Don't want to be seeing that shit. And then so this one is an interesting video. The height is what we want to worry about, because the width is like definitely there. There was one of them, it was like, wait, no, height, I think you set this to auto. Yeah, so it's a little bit cut off, but now it's like hidden behind things. And yeah, I think that's it for that. Oh wait, z-index, because we're gonna put this behind an overlay. Z-index is gonna be -2, so it's gonna be pretty far back there. All right, so now we have this, and you know, we could honestly, we could basically stop here. Oh wait, sorry guys, go to the bottom, add a little bit of padding to that paragraph tag, please. Just a little bit, and do it in the hover action. So we're gonna say padding 0%, 8%, and then again. Yeah, so that takes care of that. Yeah, so like I said, we could basically stop here, but if we want to really take it to the, take it a little bit further, get a lot of results for a little bit more work, then this is what we would do. Okay, so in the next part, we're just going to add a couple of things that's going to, really give us a lot of bang for our buck. Okay, so in this part, we are going to implement some really small features that are actually going to yield a lot of returns in terms of how the user interface looks. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to add an overlay to the video, because right now the video is crystal clear and it's starting to like take away from the foreground. You don't want a background video that's taken away from the foreground, because then it just sort of clashes and it like makes it more difficult for the user to like just focus on what they need to be doing. So let's get started with that. So open up index.html like this, and we are going to add ourselves just a very simple div right here. It's going to be div ID of video overlay, video dash overlay, then close it. Make sure it's outside of the menu. It has to be outside of the menu. Okay. All right, and then main.css, open that back up, and we are gonna do two things here. One, video overlay. Make sure you're not putting a dot there on line 14 instead of a hashtag. You have to be a hashtag when it's an ID and not a class. So position is fixed, and then the overflow is hidden, and I'll tell you why in a second. Width is going to be 100%. Height is going to be 100 VH. Top is 0, left is 0. So this will make it so that this overlay starts in the top left corner of the screen and goes from there. Now the Z index is going to be -1, so it's in front of the video but behind like all the other content. Now here's where things get interesting. We're going to say background color. Background color is going to be equal to RGBA, and it's going to be 45, 51, 61, but then 0.5 like that. Okay, and then yeah, let's just go with that. So have a look at that. So you can see that the video is dull now. It's like in the background, it's got this like kind of like grayish bluish tone over it, and that's good because now it makes it so that these colors, these pictures up here of the characters, which are super vibrant along with their backgrounds, stand out so much more. Okay, so now like people are like really looking here, and if they want to watch the background video, then they'll just kind of pull their cursor to the side and watch it, and it really feels like it's in the background. It matches the volume of it, which is, it's quiet, so it shouldn't be a loud video. All right, now because this is like kind of this in the Call of Duty UI, it's got this like futuristic theme. I kind of wanted to keep with that, so in order to do that, I included this image which I just found online. It's not really my image, so I'm not saying you can like go use it, but for this project, for learning it, you can use it. And then background size, size, it's going to be cover like this. Now this will make it so that it looks like the video is playing on a screen. So like you see these lines here like this, that's what it looks like, the video is playing on a screen. And then the next thing that we're going to do is we're just going to add a texture to this to these titles right here, and it's going to make it look like these titles are like being displayed on an LED screen, which is also again what you see going on in your what you see going on in the video of Call of Duty's title screen. So that's going to be at the bottom here with the H3 right here. Alright, so the background color is already there. All you have to do is set the background image to be the LED grid, and then background size to cover, just in case. Alright, so now it's got this like cool little LED effect. So now it's like very futuristic video game, like everything came together. So yeah, everything came together. Alright, last little thing is for the menus item, for the menu slot, you want to make it look like it's clickable, because ideally it would lead to the next screen. So you're going to say cursor is going to be, go to pointer, and it just adds that next little layer of interactivity to the website. So it looks like something people can click on, and now people can click on it. Yeah, so a lot of stuff happened in this tutorial, but it was actually pretty damn simple to implement this, and it works out like really well. It's a really fun UI to work on. I want to do more of these where we like take something that is kind of unconventional and implement it in the web or in the browser, or like some type of application. So if you like this video, definitely subscribe and hit the like button, and yeah, like let me know what you think about it in the comments, and what other video games you have been inspired by, and we'll see if we can implement those UIs or implement some inspiration from those UIs and do more videos like this in the future. Oh, before we go, one last thing. Right now when you hover over character, it's there, right? And in the UI that we took inspiration from, when you switch slots, it starts black and then the graphic fades in. So we're gonna do that for sure. Can't not do that. And it's actually pretty simple, but this is gonna definitely make you miss JavaScript for sure. So go ahead and open up index.html, and above each character's the character div, you are going to write div and then class black screen. Whoa, I did not know that the colors thing did that. So we're gonna say div, and I'm gonna copy and paste this here, black screen, this right above each character. Alright, now with that, open up CSS, and we are gonna obviously create a black screen class. Let's do this right after the menu. So black screen like this, and it's just going to be position absolute like that, z index of 2, background color is going to be RGB 43 like that, and then height is going to be 100%, width the same. Top and left, just to be sure for now. Just kind of like speeding through this because I almost forgot it. Overflow is hidden. Then opacity is going to be 0, like that. Okay. So with the opacity set to 0, you can't see it at all. Now what we're gonna do now is, as we like hover over an item, we're gonna animate the transition, but we're gonna leave it in the finished state, right? So it's a very simple animation. You go to the bottom of the screen, is where I typically do my animation. You're gonna say keyframes, which is how you start up animations. You name the animation. Then you specify the from and to, or other things. Opacity 0, which is where it starts. And then to opacity 1. Like that. Cool. All right, now let's find the let's see, there's a gradual zoom somewhere. Scroll up. Let's see, the best place for this, I guess, is gonna be, like I said, I try to write this CSS in the order it appears. So yes, I guess after this, so menu slot, hover, div, black screen, like this. And watch what we do here. We say animation, and it's gonna be the fade out animation, and it's gonna take about half a second. It's gonna ease in. Now watch this. So you see how the animation plays when we hover over it? That's good, but we need it to like stay that way. So that's where we say, hey, animate forwards and then be done. And we actually should be doing that in the reverse. So I think I meant the reverse. Actually, I wonder if I can. Okay, so I actually meant to do that in the opposite way, but this is saying go from the end to the beginning and then stop there. So if I did it correctly, the animation should have played and then stopped at the end, but since I did it backwards, I just said, you know what, I'm gonna start it from the end and then play it to the beginning. So every character fades in, we hover over it, and now it looks like, yeah, it looks pretty damn professional. So, and it's also just like a different layout, right? Like you show somebody this, you're like, oh wow, like it's not, freaking a bunch of grids. It's not just the typical navbar at the top and all that stuff. So there's a ton of stuff you can do if you go out there and like look for inspiration. I hope that this was a video that inspired you to go and look at some things that you don't normally try to do in HTML, CSS, or whatever your UI kit of choice happens to be. And yeah, all that stuff I said before, like, subscribe, and share it with people if you think that they will find it interesting. And, do this project, add it to your portfolio, and download it from GitHub. And get some sleep, because that is not what I'm doing.